Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. How are you today? Ready for some new drama from Ask a Lawyer? Let's go to the first one, about OP's dad and stepmom, who manipulates OP to give her late mother's engagement ring to her stepsister. Listen to the story to find out all the details, and of course to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. When my dad proposed to my mom, my paternal grandparents, aka Dad's parents, gave him a ring from their family to propose to Mom with. My grandparents adored my mom and saw her as a daughter. They had 4 boys and wanted to welcome her to the family with the ring. She treasured it, and before she died, she and they had discussed my grandparents keeping it safe for me. After my mom died, my dad remarried. His second wife was upset that she wasn't offered the ring like my mom was. My grandparents explained it was being kept safe for me, as the last owner had wanted her only child, aka me, to have it. My dad's wife came into the marriage with a daughter, just like Dad had me. I was 9 and she was 7. We're now 22, me, and 20, her. My stepsister got engaged a few weeks ago. Her boyfriend proposed without a ring because he wanted her to pick one out. She decided to ask Dad if she could have the family engagement ring. He asked my grandparents, and they said no. His wife told my grandparents it might not be me, but the ring would still be going to their granddaughter. They said not the granddaughter it was intended for, and my stepsister was not my mom's daughter, therefore she would not be entitled to it, and my mom would have hated to see it go to my stepsister. When speaking to my grandparents failed, my dad and his wife came to me. My stepsister was upset that they didn't overrule what my mom wanted. She has some abandonment issues. Her dad abandoned her. Neither side of her biological family want her, and my grandparents and uncles are the only extended family she ever had. But she always felt like they favored me because of how much they loved my mom, and how often they spoke about her and about us, me and Mom. Them turning her down really got her down. So my dad and his wife wanted me to make it up to her, and wanted me to take the ring and then give it to her. My dad said it would mean so much to my stepsister, and while it would mean I don't get that ring, I could still get another ring, and it would make a family member happy. His wife said that they had both lived in my mom's shadow from day one, and this could be a good time where they are not treated as secondary to my mom. She said her daughter always adored me, and never saw me as a stepsister, and it hurt her that I never saw her as a sister. She said I could do this and make her feel loved like she deserves. I refused to give my stepsister the ring, and my dad and his wife told me I was being selfish and hurtful. Am I the a-hole? It was OP's mom's ring, and she wanted it to go to OP. So OP gets to decide what happens. OP wants to keep the ring, which is fair. It's a connection to her mom. OP's stepsister's abandonment issues are not OP's to solve, as OP didn't cause them in the first place. Sadly, now OP's father, stepmother, and stepsister are trying to emotionally manipulate OP to get the ring, which is sad and pathetic. OP should stand her ground, and shame on them for their behavior. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. Prairie Mountain Zen says, not the a-hole. I'm confused about why your stepmom and stepsister are so invested in receiving this ring when they have literally no connection to it. The ring belonged to your mother, and she made it clear she would be handing it down to you. How bizarre that either of them would insist on taking that away from you. And it's even more bizarre that your father would go along with them. You've already given them your answer, and you need to stand your ground on this. There is absolutely no reason for them to guilt you into giving up something that has so much sentimental value for you, simply because they decided they should have it instead of you. Euthanasia 63 says, your mom wanted that ring to go to you, not the daughter of the random woman that your dad married after your mom passed. That ring belonged to a woman your dad's current wife never even met. It has no connection to your stepsister. It is part of your inheritance. It's a good thing your grandparents took the ring in for safekeeping. Your stepsister can go pick out her own jewelry, not the a-hole. Worldly Bug says, not the a-hole. You lost your mother at a young age, and you're supposed to part from the only thing you have from her? That's the deal when marrying a widower. The departed will always be present in some way, and that's okay, as long as it doesn't go overhand. I, 27, female, and my sister is 32, with 3 kids and married. When I graduated from high school, my parents decided they wanted to move back to their home state. I stayed with my sister for 2 years while I worked to save money before going to college. While I am grateful to my sister and her husband for letting me stay there, I had no privacy whatsoever. My sister charged me an outrageous amount for rent when she told my parents she wasn't going to, nearly half my small paycheck. And I was expected to watch and babysit my nieces and nephew at a moment's notice, or just because. Like, one morning I woke up to not only my nieces and nephew, but their friends all in the house. My sister and her husband had left to go to New Orleans without telling me I was suddenly responsible for 3 kids, plus their 4 friends. They were gone for 2 days. I missed work because no one else could watch the kids. I moved out as quickly as possible and now stay in a small apartment. It's not the best, but it doesn't have rats, roaches, and I have a roof over my head. I also currently work full-time instead of part-time. Lately, my sister has been on this kick about us moving back in together. I don't know what has brought this up. Something about how in other cultures, families live together forever or something. Her and her husband have been making plans to move to Washington for better jobs and schools. Let me just say, I'm happy with the small town we live in. Will I like to move one day? Yes, but on my terms. She's been trying to convince me to come with him and live with him again. Each time I've declined, cause I know full well what will happen if I move back in with my sister. I have voiced my concerns before, saying that I like living alone because I have my space, peace and quiet, privacy, and I'm planning on going back to school in the fall. Also, I will not be a live-in babysitter for her kids ever again. She keeps saying those things are in the past. I need to get over it. Yesterday, she sent me a link to a virtual house tour, saying this was the house they were thinking about buying, and it had a separate apartment in the basement I could stay in. Also, that she wouldn't charge me rent this time. I admit I lost it. I called her and told her don't text, call, email me about moving in with her again. I don't want to move to Washington. I don't want to live with her. She called me ungrateful and claimed she only wanted to help me get out of this town. I hung up on her. My parents called me later on that day to say I needed to apologize, cause my sister only wanted us to stay a family, and I didn't have to say what I said. Am I the a-hole? Edit. After I calmed down, I called my sister and told her again I have no plans on moving with her and her family. I told my parents the same thing. I laid out my reasons again and added some new ones, such as the price of living in Washington. The big reason why I didn't want to move, of course, and my sister would be literally the last person on earth I would live with. My sister will likely keep pestering me over this in the future till she's gone. For now, she has crawled back into her hole. OP is not in the wrong here, and her sister just wants a live-in babysitter that pays rent instead of gets paid. OP needs to tell her parents about how much they charged percentage-wise, and also how terrible they were to OP. And if that doesn't work, just cut them off. If they don't care that OP's sister took advantage of OP like that, then they clearly don't care about OP, and OP needs to kick people that don't care about her out of her life. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Seldom Seen Smith says, not the a-hole. You are a source of income and free babysitting for her. Apologize. Or what? Orignac Ume says, not the a-hole. You can stay a family and live in different places, as shown by your parents who moved back to their home state. Your sister just wants to take advantage of you again. You don't have to move because someone else wants you to. How ridiculous. Corgi Ambitious says, something about how in other cultures families live together forever or something. Not the a-hole. In those same cultures, we don't charge our family rent when they need a place. You can't just apply pieces of other culture when it's convenient. I love how she said she wouldn't charge rent, like she's doing you a huge favor. Bet that wouldn't last long once she has you living with her in a strange state with fewer options. I, 38 male, had a fight with my ex-wife, 41 female, about her child Sam, 7 male, and need an opinion from outside. We have one son together, Jake, 9 male. Sam is not mine. Our divorce was caused by my wife's infidelity, and I told up front to ex as she was pregnant, I will never take any responsibility for Sam, not emotionally or financially. However, I have figured my emotion out and got them in order to protect my son Jake. That includes I accept Sam as his little half-brother and allow him on special events to visit me and Jake. Our custody agreement is clear. Every second weekend, Jake visits his mom. My son had his birthday last month, where I allowed Sam and X to visit and celebrate with us. It wasn't something big because of the global situation. Just about 15 people, Jake's friends and some family members. Sam loves to mimic Jake, and as he saw him calling me dad, he started to call me dad too. I've spoken with him calmly that I don't want to be called dad by him, but he's allowed to call me by my name. As he had asked why, I explained that he's not my child and I'm not his dad. Also, he asked me who his father is, and I responded that I don't know. He then ran up to my ex and asked who his father is. My ex sent him to ask me. I just told him that his mom doesn't know it either, but I am not his dad, and again, he should call me by my name. However, on this day, nothing happened anymore. Even I noticed my ex tried a crappy move on me. I just ignored it. The problem is, Sam has told it also to his school friends, as the class have played a game where they talked out their family. I have to say here, some children are pure evil. Some of Sam's classmates have started to pick on him as fatherless and worse. My ex called me about it, told her that she has to fight over this with Sam's teacher and the other kids' parents, but it is not my problem. She then started to yell at me on the phone that it is my fault, called me some names. I responded that I have noticed what she tried at Jake's birthday party, and this problem wouldn't exist if she could keep her legs closed for other men, and told her she should try to find Sam's actual father if she wanted a man to take care of her son. X involved our parents in this fight. Now my mom is nagging me over this and sides with X. However, I was not gentle with her either, as she called me. Notice, my mom wanted a daughter ever since and saw my wife as her first daughter. That's why I'm in low contact with her, because she tried to force me to forgive my ex. Here's why I might be an a-hole. My son has picked up on this whole mess and is now mean to his little brother and rejects to play with him and teases him as well. I actually have made an appointment with a therapist to solve this, but I don't think I can solve it on my own. Am I the a-hole here? I don't think OP is in the wrong here, but in the future, he should try to keep his disagreements with X out of earshot of his son. I think it's pretty low of OP's ex to have Sam ask OP about his father. If she can't stop behaving this way, it may be time to stop letting her and Sam attend gatherings for Jake, and she can host her own. Also, OP needs to have a serious conversation with his son about his behavior towards his half-brother. And now let's hear the community's opinion. 2 Cents Psychologist says, not the a-hole. 1. You're not Sam's father, and having him call you by your first name is totally fine. 2. You're civil, and have tried to keep Sam in Jake's life. 3. You're civil with X, despite the history and her recent attempts at trouble. 4. Jake picking up on it seems an accident. However, you need to be more careful to prevent your son from hearing future arguments with your ex. Misky Moon says, not the a-hole. X needs to take responsibility for her actions. She shouldn't have told Sam to come back to you to answer. Speak with your son and get him into therapy, and they'll help to explain the reasons why he is being mean. Your mom and X are the a-holes here. Not the a-hole for not allowing Sam to call you dad, but you need to realize that Sam is innocent. It's not his fault that his mother cheated on you. You should talk to Jake. Don't allow him to pick on his younger brother. When my wife and I were married, I was confident that I would pay for her son's tuition. I had the money saved up, and my wife asked me if I was going to pay, and I told her I would. My wife did not make a lot of money, and I told her I would cover the costs. However, my wife and I fell out of love, and we began initiating the divorce process, and in February, we finally got divorced. I had a prenup and postnuptial in place, so when we divorced, my wife got pretty much nothing. My stepson was always supporting his mother throughout the divorce, and did not talk to me at all while we were separated. This honestly hurt me, and since we divorced, he did not talk to me. He just called me asking if I would still be paying for his university. Now, I would be paying $200K for a person who would no longer be in my life. I told him sorry, but since we do not have a relationship anymore, I do not want to pay. He was quiet and accepted it. I then got an angry call from my ex, because now my ex-stepson will not be going to university and is having to go to community college. She said the divorce was between us and not to hurt her son. But I can see very clearly if I pay for it, he will still never have a relationship with me, and I'd rather spend the money on my own children. She got upset and is trying to paint me in a bad light to my friends. Andrew McDonald says, not the a-hole. If he actually cared, he would have kept contact, but he didn't. Then he has the audacity to call and ask for $200K? GW2K Pro says, not the a-hole, by any stretch. You're not an ATM machine. If your stepson viewed you as anything but an ATM, you would have heard something from him at some point. Sometime before, hey, can you give me $200K please? There are many ways for him to get an education without you paying for it. Your ex can help him if she wants to. Manda Diane says, not the a-hole. If he had tried to continue a relationship with you through the divorce, instead of cutting all ties with you until he wanted money, then it would have been nice to uphold your arrangement. But he decided he didn't want you in his life, so he doesn't need your money in his life either. My 27 male, wife 27 female, and I got married over virus, and thus had a super small wedding. Only immediate family came, and it was a 12-person wedding for only about $2,000 total. Her parents paid for her dress. I paid for everything else. My wife and I are now house hunting, and the market is ridiculous right now. My in-laws are pretty financially comfortable and offered to gift us a 20% down payment since they didn't have to pay for a wedding. But they want me to sign a post-nuptial agreement stating that if I were to divorce, all the equity from their gift would go to my wife versus split 50-50. I told them no thanks. I don't want any gifts with strings attached. Neither of us wanted a prenup, so I don't want a post-nuptial agreement either. I make about 50% more than the wife and knew there was some risk, but that's not the kind of marriage I want. My wife agreed. We just lost another house bid, and my wife brought up how we could be more aggressive if we accepted her parents' help. I told her my stance hasn't changed. If they remove the caveat, I will, but I don't want them to have any involvement like that, and I want to keep our marriage attorney-free. She gets it, but is getting more antsy about not winning any housing bids and thinks I should reconsider. Her brother, who I know pretty well, also is now trying to get me to agree to it, saying I should put aside my pride so we can get a better house for our future family, planning to have kids soon. But I just feel that'll breed resentment and cause drama I don't want in our marriage. Edit. It's not like we'd be homeless without their support. I make a good living and she does okay. It's just the housing market is pretty crazy right now, and we live in an expensive housing market. I don't want a loan from them, even if zero interest. We don't want more debt than we'd originally been planning to take on with our current budget. I'm not trying to negotiate a postnup to be more beneficial to me. The whole point is that we both agreed to a marriage without getting lawyers involved, which is a binary matter here. This is officially a closed matter. We've agreed that we will present a united front and not accept any gifts that come with conditions attached, as that goes against our premarital commitments to each other. We will find a home when we find a place within our budget. We are also committed to keeping third parties from adding terms to our marriage. That is final. Your little birdie says, not the a-hole, gifts with strings are never a good idea. You're right to avoid this. Midwest Paige Turner says, no a-holes. I totally understand all the different sides of this issue. Honestly, you don't like the idea of the strings, but also probably they're doubting the long-term validity of your relationship. Your in-laws don't like the idea of a possible divorce in just a couple months would entitle you to half of their hard-earned money. Your wife doesn't like being in the middle and wants to get a house ASAP. As a parent, I would probably also like a post-nuptial agreement for a gift of a significant amount of money. But there is a reasonable solution that all of you are overlooking. Get a post-nuptial agreement that expires in X years. This would solve both their concerns and also have a null impact on your relationship, assuming that you are in it for the long haul anyway. Useful Commission 76 says, this is not a post-nup. If your in-laws want to give you 20% down, you and your wife can draw up a contract with her parents, stating that if you divorce, you and your wife will give her parents their 20% back. Or you could treat it as a second mortgage loan from them. It's obviously not a gift if they want the money back.